Is it possible to be labeled as not deaf enough and not hearing enough? Well, actually, yes, that is possible. It's something that a lot of people, even though you don't see them, they go through. Someone like myself, who is in that middle bit of not being part of a hearing word, but not even part of the deaf word as well. And if that applies to you, let me know in the comment down below if that applies to you. I'd love to learn more about it, your experience, and how do you deal with that situation, because it's tough. But also, if you stick around to the end, I want to share a suggestion, a tip on how you can deal with that better if it's something that you're struggling with. If you're finding it hard to be in that middle bit, then stick around to the end, because I would love to share an idea that could make a difference in your life. The topic of not being deaf enough and not being hearing enough is very hard for someone like myself and yourself as well to be in a situation where you feel like you don't belong in either places, because you're labeled as either small d deaf or hard of hearing. And when you're in that situation, it's quite awkward, it's quite difficult to work out where do you belong, what is your identity. It's not something that I agree with, not deaf enough, but unfortunately it does exist, and it's something that is involved especially within the deaf community, especially those who are, capital D deaf, culturally deaf. The general idea of not being deaf enough is, for example, your main language is oral, not sign language. You didn't go through deaf schools. Maybe you come through of mainstream lifestyle. You don't have any deaf friends. You're not involved in the deaf communities. You don't share the same values and passion and being involved in the history of deaf culture. If that applies to you, either one or a few or all, you're considered to be not deaf enough. But it's not something that I think other people should label on you. It's up to you to work out your own identity, your own honest identity. Obviously, you can't make it up. And then there's the other side of it, which is you're not hearing enough. You're not part of a hearing word, and that is quite obvious really, because you live the mainstream lifestyle, but you're not able to communicate with other people. You struggle in group conversation, you struggle in group events and environment. You can't really keep up with conversation, you can't hear a lot of things, the general things that a lot of people would understand, and that is something that applies to a lot of people as well, including myself too. And unfortunately, both of these arguments exist, not deaf enough or not hearing enough. So what does that mean then? Where do you belong? Where do we stand? What is your identity? And for a lot of people, they struggle with that. And it's even more difficult when really that word in the middle doesn't officially exist. It's not officially recognized. And yes, there is the name of hard of hearing that does exist, but it's not really a definite culture. It's not really a definite group, because there isn't a history around it like in the deaf culture and of course the mainstream hearing word. They are two separate things, but that middle bit is very awkward. So of course it's difficult for a lot of people. If you're watching this, if that applies to you, I get it, I totally get it. The thing that bugs me a lot is when you want to have access to either word, and unfortunately there are people who will just not be very open. And I'm just gonna make sure that I say some people would be like that, not all, because of course not everyone in a deaf community is going to be closed and just not gonna allow you to be coming into their culture and not be open to you. Of course that doesn't apply to all of them. Not all of them are like that. There are going to be some amazing people in the deaf community who will be welcoming, warm, open armed. They will just be so nice to you and want you to be involved as much as possible. Of course, they would love that. And the same thing in the hearing word, there are people who will be open and understanding, and they get it, they understand, and they just want to be with you because of who you are, not because of anything else, not because of a label of any sort. But there will be a minority of people on both sides of the word where they will not be as open as you would like them to be. For example, you could be wanting to be involved in the deaf community, you're learning sign language, but then you go to that group of people and they will mock you because you don't sign very well. But of course you won't, because you are learning about that. If anything, that should be encouraged, that should be applauded, and that should be something that people will help you with as well. But there will be some people who will just not be acceptable of that for whatever reason. But there will be other people who would love that. They will help you. They will help you to get better. They will give you some ideas and corrections and someone to practice with. That applies in a deaf word. And the same thing with a hearing word. There will be some people, of course, who will not be patient with you. If you ask them to repeat, they will be annoyed with you. They get frustrated. They will walk away. I've had that many, many times, and it does exist. But at the same time, not everyone is like that, and we should appreciate that there are people out there who care passionately about accessibility, but also they just care about you as a person, not because of anything, like I said, a label. It's just because they care about you and they want to be with you as well. So if this applies to you, if you are in that middle bit, what can you do? How can you deal with it? Because it can be a very lonely situation, and it's hard to find people to connect with, people who are like-minded like you, to be in that middle bit of, maybe you can call it hard of hearing, or in the middle bit, in betweener, whatever you call it. What can you do? So here's a suggestion that I've got for you. Create your own word. Now, hear me out. This is what I'm saying about creating your own word, because this is something that people might struggle with, but bear with me. Is there a way that you can create your own word? Whatever you want to call it, it's up to you. So is there a way you can create that own word in the middle where you'll have the best of both words, and you will be like a bridge where you'll have the right people coming to you and you'll connect with the right people from both sides of a word. So if you imagine you have the two words and you connect that bridge, you're on that bridge, you're in that middle bit, and you're welcoming to anybody. You're just open to anyone, and you want to be involved with both words as well. Let me use an example that I can share with you on how you can make that work. So for me, I am learning BSL, British Sign Language. So I have that connection to the deaf word and the deaf community, and I've got other reasons why I want to learn BSL, but that's one side of it. But obviously I'm oral as well, and I am mainstream word living thing. That's what I do. I'm living that word. So I have that access to both sides of the word. But that can be a good thing. It's not always a bad thing. I can be in that middle bit, that bridge, where I have exposure to many, many things. Another way of looking at it is that I have predominantly hearing friends and hearing families, and that's on the one hand. But at the same time, I'm connecting with a lot of people online who are considered to be deaf, who are considered to be profoundly deaf, capital D deaf, all these things, and I'm connecting with them online as well. So again, I have access to both words, which is quite unique and quite special as well. Now, I can't take credit for this idea. I got this idea from a TEDx Georgetown talk back in 2013, and a speaker called Heather Artinian, who is profoundly deaf. She has cochlear implants. I think she has 2. She has deaf parents, deaf brothers, but she also has hearing grandparents and hearing relatives, so she kind of have that mixture of both words, of hearing and deafness, as she calls it. And she created the idea of, I have my own word, and her name is Heather Artinian. She called her word the Heather word. It is as simple as that. She wanted access to both words for her own personal reason, and I'm going to link to that in the description. You can watch that talk yourself, and I recommend that you do. She's desperate to have access to both words for her own reason, and even though she's been criticized for rejecting the deaf word by her family and her parents and all these things, and she's also been criticized for being involved in a hearing word because she is profoundly deaf and she had to have speech therapist, and she had a deaf accent and people criticizing her for that. You know, she's getting all these criticism, and it's not fair. Obviously it's not right, but she doesn't want that to influence her idea and her decision to be involved in both words, and she has created that bridge, as she called it, and on that bridge is the two words, and that is where Heather's word exists. It's in that middle bit, and she loves that. She has access to amazing things. She has an advantage for being able to open her mind in both words and being able to access different culture and environment and people, and that's what she wanted. She doesn't want to be just only exclusively in one word or the other. She wanted both, and she loved that. She thinks it's beautiful, it's a great idea, and it made me think, you know what, that is something that I resonate and I love as well. Because even on my own website, I always say that I am bridging the gap between the hearing and deaf word. I don't see it as a segregation. We don't want that. I think it's something that we can learn on both sides, but we do it respectfully. You can respect the deaf culture and you can respect the mainstream world as well. You can criticize the system and you can fight against that, that's one thing, but you don't criticize the wrong person. You don't criticize the person who wants to have access to both words, or who was not traditionally part of one word and decided to go another word. You don't criticize that person. Maybe you criticize something else. Maybe you focus your energy on something else. As long as we respect it, as long as we have respect for both words and the people, and as long as you also invite the right people into your own world, people who are friendly and open-minded and warm and welcoming, then you have a beautiful thing that you can have in the middle, which is your bridge, which is your word. So why don't you consider doing that? Maybe it's something that we can do together. I'm always trying to find ways to make it work. I'm trying to make it work for myself, actually, having my own Ahmed's word, but it's a work in progress because it's not going to be a quick fix. But if that's something that you like, why don't you join me? Why don't you get involved together and share your ideas and thoughts on how you can make it work? Because I'd love to hear how you do it, and I think it could help you as well. Don't forget though, it's up to you who you want to have in your own world. And don't forget as well, it doesn't mean that you exclude people for the wrong reason. It doesn't mean that you are rejecting any ideas that both worlds live in. No, it's not about that. It's about making sure that you have something that works for you, but you also have access to both worlds. And it's something beautiful that you can really expose yourself to as well. Something that will allow you to really open your mind about different people, different ideas, culture, languages. There are so many things that you can take advantage of by being in that awkward, perhaps lonely middle bit, which I am part of as well. But let's see what we can do with that together. I hope that makes sense to you, and let me know how it works out for you in a comment. And while you're at it, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. It would be great to see you getting involved with these videos and sharing your ideas and thoughts. I'd love to hear your stories as always. In the meantime, I will speak to you again soon. Take care.